Hamilton forced to accept these changes to the W14. Although the 2023 Mercedes Formula One car has several weaknesses and is lagging behind the top-performing Red Bull, Lewis Hamilton is facing a specific problem. This problem is a result of a design decision made by Mercedes at the beginning of the new technical rules last year, which was carried over to the 2023 car, despite the previous year's car being unsuccessful. As Mercedes plans significant improvements, Hamilton is focused on one particular issue that he believes must be addressed in future cars, and now he is being forced into accepting a different change. To conform to the new technical regulations implemented last year, Mercedes designed a car with a forward-positioned cockpit, allowing for the exposed side impact structure and reducing the size of the sidepod. However, this cockpit placement, which is further forward than in previous designs, has been maintained in the 2023 W14 car, resulting in a noticeable contrast between the Mercedes and Red Bull RB90 cars. According to Hamilton, the forward cockpit position on the Mercedes gives the sensation of sitting on the front wheels while driving, which he considers one of the most uncomfortable feelings. He compared it to driving a road car with the front wheels beneath your legs, approaching a roundabout, and is a position that impedes the driver's ability to sense the car's movement, predict its behavior, and push it to its limits. Hamilton admits that he has had difficulty with this aspect, while his teammate George Russell has not. This discomfort caused by the cockpit position compounds the wider problem of Mercedes' flawed car concept and poor performance, and Hamilton believes that the Mercedes does not respond as desired due to difficulties in optimizing and controlling the aerodynamic center of pressure. This component, which represents the average of the downforce produced at the front and rear of the car, is crucial to maintaining balance. The new car's emphasis on ground effect aerodynamics and the hard work done on the floors result in the center of pressure being further back than before, and this shift causes the center of pressure to move more as it travels from the back to the front of the floor. Hamilton believes that the aerodynamic characteristics of the Mercedes are too far forward, resulting in the rear end of the car being too weak to handle the turning and rotation in a controlled manner. This creates a situation where the car is overly sensitive on turning and lacks the stability required for smooth entry into corners. Furthermore, the uncomfortable seating position exacerbates the situation, making it challenging for Hamilton to cope with the resulting rear instability, which he has previously managed better. But is this really that big of an issue and a game-breaking problem that Hamilton cannot move from it and get used to? Well, if one is skeptical about Hamilton's complaints, they may argue that he is making the issue out to be more significant than it actually is. Some may point out that the difference in cockpit positioning between the Mercedes and Red Bull cars is subtle, and that the driver's seating position is just one of the many elements that contribute to the overall performance of the car. They may also argue that if the car itself was better, Hamilton's discomfort with the seating position would be less of a problem. Additionally, some people may question Hamilton's complaints because he is being slightly outpaced by his teammate Russell, who doesn't seem to have any issues with the car's seating position. Although Hamilton finished ahead of Russell in the Australian Grand Prix and is leading him in the championship, Russell was ahead of Hamilton early in the race before retiring with an engine failure. Furthermore, Hamilton has been slightly slower than Russell in qualifying sessions this year. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that Hamilton is making excuses, but rather that he is more vulnerable to something that Russell can handle better. Their levels of experience could also be a factor in this discrepancy. Hamilton's experience with high-performing cars may make him more sensitive to the issues he's experiencing with the current Mercedes, while Russell's previous experience with lower-performing cars may make him more forgiving of the car's limitations. Additionally, Russell's positive view of the 2023 car may be influenced by the fact that he is new to the team and still building a rapport with the car and the team, whereas Hamilton has been with the team for several years and has a deeper understanding of how the car should feel and perform. Ultimately, both drivers are experiencing the same car, but are interpreting its characteristics differently based on their individual experiences and perspectives. It's clear that Hamilton is not happy with the cockpit position and believes it is affecting his ability to drive the car as well as he would like. While Russell may not have the same concerns, it's possible that his lack of experience with high-performing cars has influenced his perception of the cockpit position. However, the fact remains that the cockpit position does affect how the driver feels and responds to the car, and this is a reality that cannot be ignored. Hamilton's previous objections to the position also indicate that this is not simply a case of him being difficult or overreacting, but rather a genuine concern that he feels needs to be addressed. Ultimately, it will be up to Mercedes to decide whether or not to make changes to the cockpit position for future seasons. Mercedes has hinted that Hamilton will get the modifications he requests, but has stopped short of making an outright assurance. Toto Wolff, the head of the Mercedes team, said the driver position is one of the most crucial aspects when we inquired about Hamilton's insistence that a change is necessary for next season. A 7-time world champion has an opinion, and that is important to listen to, said the Mercedes team principal. It seems that for now, Hamilton will have to cope with the current cockpit position until Mercedes is able to make significant changes to the car design. The team is already exploring new development directions and may abandon the unique sidepod design that required the current cockpit arrangement. However, this is a big job and involves a bundle of compromises to achieve the right weight distribution. The driver's position is tied to the cockpit opening and the side impact structure positions, so any changes will take time to implement. Hamilton hinted at this after the Australian Grand Prix, where he finished second and may have to continue adapting to the current cockpit position for the time being. It's important to note that the Mercedes team is known for its continuous development throughout the season, so it's likely that they will be working on improving the car in various areas throughout the year. This includes both mechanical and aerodynamic upgrades, as well as adjustments to the cockpit position, although any big changes to the latter will likely have to wait until next season. The team is committed to ensuring that Hamilton and Russell have the best possible equipment to compete at the highest level, so fans can expect to see ongoing improvements and adjustments as the season progresses. There are people who are convinced that Mercedes will get back on track. One of them is the former F1 world champion Damon Hill. Speaking on the F1 Nation podcast about the Mercedes package in Melbourne, Hill stated, "Mercedes was seemingly making some progress and inroads to bring some challenge to Red Bull. But the early races can be misleading, and we sort of had our heads in our hands a little bit after Bahrain, and then things became a little more interesting at Saudi Arabia." The former world champion argued that Mercedes had taken major steps forward from their difficult season opener in Bahrain. "I thought I saw signs of the Mercedes particularly having made a leap forward after Friday. The car just looked completely different on the Saturday, and it sort of continued right through to Melbourne. It sounds like Mercedes is working on improving the overall performance of the car, including both aerodynamic and mechanical upgrades, as well as changes to the suspension components. While these upgrades won't address Hamilton's specific issues with the cockpit position, they could improve the underlying balance and drivability of the car, which may help Hamilton feel more connected to it and have more confidence pushing it to its limits. Ultimately, though, it seems that Hamilton will have to cope with the current cockpit position until bigger changes can be made in the future. What do you think? Will these upgrades prove incremental in Mercedes' fight back to the top? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and see you next time.